Thank you, sir. It is now 6 p.m. and I call this meeting of La Ferry Independent School District to order. Let the records show that a quorum of board members are present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Please stand.
You'll bow your heads for prayer. Heavenly Father, as we gather in this month of April, we thank you for the renewal and growth that this season brings. We bring our school board members before you and all our staff, teachers, and everyone who has something that they do with our beautiful children, asking for wisdom as they navigate important decisions that affect our students, teachers, and staff. We thank you for the dedication of our educators and administrators, and we pray for strength for them during this busy time of the year. Lord, we thank you for our beautiful community of La Feria and all who participate with our school district. We ask that this meeting be a light of an example to our students. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Mrs. Johnson, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of March 9th, 2026 and March 30th of 2026? Have a motion by Mrs. Montalvo and a
Second.
second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All of those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye? I'll say
Aye.
I didn't hear you say anything. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 4-0. I guess we don't have anyone for public comment. Thank you. The first information item is Senate Bill 546 on 3-point seatbelts.
Good evening, Board President, Ms. Castillo, board members, and Superintendent, Ms. Torres. Tonight, I want to give some information only. I would like to present an overview of Senate Bill 546, also known as the seatbelt study. If you see, we have three provisions. The state of Texas is through the Senate Bill 546 that was passed and enhanced to study student safety, and it builds on the existing seatbelt laws already in place. This is by broadening the requirements and promoting greater transparency regarding the cost and to be in compliance with this bill. We have three key provisions. The first one is to, of course, have a broader seatbelt standards, and what this means is to make sure that all our school buses have a 3-point seatbelt. And this is for every student on the bus and also including the driver. The second provision is that conditional financial exemption with accountability. What this is that the districts may still be able to state that being in compliance is not affordable, but only that they meet accountable steps. And there's 2 steps that are required. The first one is that the board must officially determine that the budget constraints prevent compliance. And the second one is that the determination must be presented and discussed in a public meeting, as of, like, for example, today. Okay. The number 3 provision is that the required state reporting, which we're doing tonight, that all districts must submit compliance and related information to the state. And as we move forward, we are doing this through Syntel. And this is a module that we have online that we are reporting this to TEA. And on the next slide, as you will see, I would like to show you a breakdown of our fleet. In total, we have 33 school buses, 23 of these are actually the yellow school buses. These are the Class C. These are our largest bus. These are 77 passenger buses. And we have 5, out of the 23, we have 5 that are in compliance with the 3-point seatbelts. And out of those, we have 17 that are out of compliance. In other words, 17 of them do not have seatbelts. So with that, we already have 2 buses that have already been set aside for auction. So that would eliminate those 2 from the 17. That would be with 15 left. And then we're looking at maybe 2 buses that are almost going to be 20 years old with over 150,000 miles on them. So, you know, at the cost that and the rate that we're going, they might not be feasible for us to be able to supply those with seatbelts. And then, of course, we have that 1 literacy bus. That is considered a Class C bus. And that one is also in that category. And that one is for non-transportation, so we would not have to put any seatbelts on that bus. And then we have 5, on the next category, we have 5 Class B buses. These are our sped buses. And we already have 3 in route right now. Those are being used every day. And we also have 2 that are already scheduled for auction. These buses are pretty close to almost a little bit over 20 years old. Those have already been aside for a while there at our yard. And so those will be put in auction as soon as we get to, you know, the auction process. And then the other 5 buses that we have are those 5 mini, I call them micro buses, but those 5 activity buses. Okay, so those are all ready and good to go with seatbelts. We don't have to put any seatbelts on those. So being with that, you know, we can go ahead and just move on, and we would have 12 left buses that would not be in compliance. Okay. Our student ridership, I went ahead and included this so you get an idea of how many students we do transport daily. And registered, we have 707 students registered on all of our routes. We have 13 routes, regular routes, and we have 3 special education routes. And in the future, if you like, I can present to you, but we do have a breakdown of all the students that ride, you know, on these routes also. And that's available, you know, at your request.
And I did send that in a board update. A few months back, I sent how many students are in each bus.
Our next slide. So here's the good, I think, real good information. Based on information that I collected, I was able to contact a vendor. He is an Abide Board vendor. He's one of our vendors that we do business with. They were able to provide us with an estimate to retrofit the 12 buses. Those buses, of course, the requirements would be new equipment, which is the seat belts and any kind of hardware, anything that is going to be needed, you know, to install these. Also, it's going to include the labor to install the seat belts. And there may be some modifications depending on the type of bus. Most of our buses are all international buses, and that's the vendor that gave us that quote. We only have 1 bus that is the Thomas bus that may qualify for seatbelts. But we're looking, you know, at the operation cost of that bus also, meaning that at that time, we may not equip that bus with seatbelts. Just to let you know, we do have until September the 1st of 2029 is when all those requirements need to be met. All buses need to be equipped with seatbelts by then. Of course, this was some other information. This was enacted last year, September the 1st of 2025. So since then, we've been gathering information and doing some research. And so by May the 29th, all this information that I'm sharing with you needs to be inputted into the system. And then after that, legislature will be, TEA, will be reporting all this to our legislature, which includes the the governor, lieutenant governor, and the legislature members. All this will be introduced to them. All this information will be compiled, and they need to do this before January the 1st. And once they get that, that's when they go into the next session, and that's when they're gonna determine and decide what to do. And TEA will be keeping us informed on the next steps that we need to do towards SB 546, which is Senate Bill 546.
And they'll decide if this is feasible, if there's grants out there that will help schools, exactly what can happen, and you see the total cost for our school. Right now, any buses that we purchase automatically have to have seatbelts, so that's why we have some. But our older buses, as Mr. Muddy explained, do not. So we will bring it back in May because there's some action that you have to take as far as the information that we provided. But at this time, it's a study, and that's pretty much where it is at this point.
On that buy board, is this the only company that does the seatbelts?
No, well, being that most of our buses are international, this is through Longhorn. Longhorn, I believe they used to be here in
Right.
this community, and they are the official international dealer. And all the parts that go, that we order and anything that needs to be added on, they are more informed of what's going on with, of course, SB 546, which would be, you know, someone that would probably be able to give us a better understanding of what we need to do with these buses. They do have the mechanics to do the job. We do have another vendor, Andes. They're also located in Edinburgh. They do a lot of work for us. But I talked to Andes, and they recommended that we go with the manufacturer, being that these parts have to be approved and in compliance with state regulations. Seat belts, of course, is very important, especially for our students. So it's important that we do go directly to the source.
It's more of a CYA since they're the company that has the bus, right?
Yes.
So what we'd hope for is that the legislature would put in funds for
Funding for
retrofitting.
Yeah.
And, you know, they are also saying that we can take donations, we can apply for grants, and we can take gifts to pay for that. So there's nothing wrong if they do pass it. Of course, the bill right now is not law yet, but once it does become law, you know, we should be able to accept any type of donations. If somebody wants to donate, you know, $10,000 towards this, if you can see the cost already, just for 12 buses, that was an average cost that I was given by the vendor, between $50,000 to $53,000 per bus. Okay?
And I
So-
think the state is just trying to figure out exactly how big is this.
Yes.
And that's why it's a study at this point, and they're getting that data. And this doesn't mean we have to go with that company, this just means they want us to give them an average of, from a buy board.
Well, I just wanted to see if there was other people other than one, and maybe, I mean, because in my head, I'm thinking they're seatbelts, you tornillo, put the seatbelt on, I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need a mechanic to do that, right? I mean, so that's what I was just,
And there is a lot of vendors that are already reaching out to school districts, but these are aftermarket parts.
right.
These are not original OEM parts. So, you know, that is one thing I'm gonna be looking at. Of course, you know, making sure that, you know, our seatbelts are in compliance. And not only that, but the installation part too, that's gonna be vital. You know, making sure that all these seatbelts are installed properly. More than likely, we're gonna have to change the back seat, the backrest, because the seatbelts, if you look at one of our buses that has, the belts come through, they're not like in our cars that come up
The
here.
top, right.
They go through the seat.
The
So
system
there's
inside
gonna
the
be a lot
seat.
of modifications, a lot of work behind all this. So, yeah, we're looking at almost approximately $636, and of course, that's with today's prices. You know, and, you know, if this does go through, who knows what 2029, how much it's gonna
Right.
cost. So,
Well, especially
that
once
is,
they know it's
Senate Bill
mandatory.
546, any questions?
Questions of Mr. Harvey?
I do have one, you know, maybe this falls under a safety, you
That's what
know,
I was thinking.
you know, with,
Wouldn't it be a safe?
maybe we could look into see how, because if it's a mandate, you know, and it's like, I don't know.
And right now, our safety funds are pretty much earmarked for our
Yeah.
police department and things like that.
Yeah.
Just
Just-
wondering.
Yeah.
And this is throughout the whole state of Texas. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen already some estimates, like from Plano, Texas, and from from other big school districts, and they're looking in the millions.
Oh,
Well, that's what I was telling them. Once they realize that it's state mandated, they're gonna jump the prices up because they know
Oh,
we
of
have to do it
course.
regardless.
Yeah.
What I was telling Ms. Torres is, I think the best thing that the state can do in this situation is, as we move forward, keep buying new buses and replacing the ones that don't have seat belts. And but the state is trying to do this within the 3-year period. And it's gonna make it real hard for a lot of school districts, to be able to budget, and find the funding for this program.
I know it looks like, we're auctioning 2, and so we have 12 left, but out of those 12, do we know if any are close to being decommissioned,
Yeah,
like
well,
within the
actually,
next
we
year
have
that we?
14,
Uh-huh.
and 2 of those are by 2029, when we do reach that, they're gonna be pretty close to 19 and a half years.
To be
And
retiring,
they
yeah.
So-
they already over $150,000.
That's why he went down to 12, because we currently use 14, and then
Yes.
2 of them,
Or,
he's already thinking we're not
Yeah.
going
So
to.
in reality, yeah, we have 12 good buses that, still in 3 years, they'll be good condition, they'll be ready if we do have to go to that.
because I wouldn't want us invest in this 636,000 and then have in 2 years or,
Yeah,
3
no,
years have to
retire
buy
that
new,
bus, no.
and then have to purchase
No,
new buses.
And that's what we need to look, and, I look at everything, operation cost, the year, the mileage, the condition, just like a car. Like
Yes.
you would go buy a car, you look at all those things, the same thing with the bus.
Appreciate you, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir, great
Okay.
job.
Thank you.
Very good
Thank
report.
you.
Yes.
Next item is or are the bond projects update. Mr. Cespedes?
Yes, thank you, Board President Castillo. Just to give everybody an update on our bond projects, first with the baseball and the softball sports complex. If y'all seen, if y'all driven by there, they poured the concrete foundation where the restrooms and the concessions will go. They still been grading the soil, so they'll still continue to do that. In the next month or so, you'll start seeing some pretty big, deep holes, because they'll start doing the piping, the drainage where both the softball and the baseball field will go. We did meet a couple weeks ago with AEP. They went to go take a look at the area where they're gonna put the light pole and the transformer. So AEP does provide those specs to our contractor, because it had, the specs where the slab, where the transformer's gonna go, has to be to certain specs. That'll take about 4 to 6 weeks, so we're hopeful that in 4 to 6 weeks, AEP will come out and install the light pole and the transformer. Once they get that, then they'll have direct power to that, and they'll continue to work on that. So those are some of the updates for the baseball and the softball.
On the
fields.
baseball and softball, we're also, they're asking us to meet with them every 2 weeks now, because there's a lot of decisions sometimes that have to be made. So this Thursday is our first meeting, and we'll be meeting every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so we'll begin those, they're called OAC meetings every 2 weeks, and then, or depending on how much work has been done, sometimes, we'll have them every month or every 2 weeks. The next one is the playground equipment. This is, remember, for Sam Houston and Dominguez Elementary. So the board did approve the vendor back in February. We did have a pre-construction meeting with the vendor. We had that meeting on March the 30th. So we are pending the final agreement. They're called the AIA documents. Those are, contractor documents with the owner, which is us. We did provide them already with a purchase order. So we did have both principals at each school, select the colors. The main thing with this, after meeting with them, is it's gonna take about 13 to 17 weeks total. So from the day that we had the pre-construction meeting with them, right? So again, we did give them a purchase order. So we are hopeful that they'll be done around the middle to late July. And we did talk about, how long it takes them. And a lot of times with these, and I'll talk a little bit about it in the bleachers and the gym floor, it's the lead time to manufacture these things. So they're saying it'll take about 8 to 10 weeks to manufacture the playground equipment. Because the playground equipment is not readily available, right? It's always made to order. So that's usually what takes a while for it to come in. Now with the roofing improvements district-wide, that one, similar to the baseball, softball, those we've been having monthly meetings, OAC meetings, owner, architect, contractor meetings. They've already completely prepped ready the gym at Vail. And the reason they started on that one before the other ones, because that one is not metal sheet roofing. So that one is just like your typical roofing at other places. They already had the material for that. Probably what y'all have noticed is they finished already fully mobilizing all the metal sheets, the frame, and another material at all the other campuses. They were doing that, I believe it was last week when they finished that, or the week before. So that's why if you pass by, I feel like high school is a big construction area right now, with different things going on, and they already also put everything, all the material ready at Green, and then at Dominguez as well. Those, we expect them, they'll begin on those again. There's a part to it where they gotta get everything off and then the new stuff going in. So they are gonna start with high school and then make their way to Green and then so forth. So again, with those, we'll continue to provide updates as we go on those. The next one is the digital marquees. That one, we've had it advertised, as y'all recall, at the March board meeting, we came back to the board to go back and do competitive seal proposals. So it was advertised in the Valley Morning Star the last 2 Saturdays, which was April the 4th and the 11th. So we do have a pre-conference meeting. That's an opportunity for any of these vendors, if they have any questions on the bids or on the specs. We're having one this Wednesday. We'll have it here in the boardroom. And they are gonna be due on April the 22nd by 2 p.m. They'll be due here. And so the goal is for us to bring it at the next board meeting to bring a vendor for the board for recommendation. The next one is the bleachers and the gym floor. Again, that one, the board approved the new vendor, which is RFS Sports. So it was approved in the March board meeting. For that one, we did have also a pre-construction meeting with the vendor on March the 30th. We did issue out a purchase order. We're still finalizing the documents. Our legal counsel reviews it, and then we gave it to them for their team to review. We did issue out a purchase order, and we did give them payment for 75% of it. Because that's, again, the payment that they need in order to order the materials. For that one, right now, preliminary, they are gonna start with Dominguez and Green. And so right now, the timeline is that they're gonna get started around early July. And the goal is for them to finalize both of those gyms before the first day of school. So we'll be cutting it short. They guarantee that they'll get that done, but it all depends on, the manufacturer, when these bleachers are made. Now, for the high school, we are bringing an agenda item tonight. Before they do anything with the bleachers and with the flooring, we have to take care of the HVAC issue first. So we are bringing an agenda item for that, to go out for competitive seal proposals for that project. And so we did talk to the vendor, to RFS Sports, and they are gonna order the material for the flooring and the bleachers, but they're gonna keep that, they're gonna store that until they are ready for that. The goal is for them to install that, for RFS to install the bleachers and the flooring at the high school gym next spring. And the reason for that is so that next school year, our students can still use it for volleyball and for basketball season. So, it's gonna be where the HVAC contractor engineer are gonna have to work around our students. And then once they're done with the HVAC upgrades, then RFS will come in and do the flooring and the gym and the bleachers. HVAC, as I mentioned earlier, Ethos Engineering. At the next board meeting, we are bringing an item to amend and append the original agreement that y'all approved with Ethos Engineering, so that we can add some additional exhibits. And the 2 exhibits would be to address the HVAC at the high school gym, and then the other exhibit would be to address the heating and the controls at the 3 elementary campuses. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna get with a TAP contractor, which is one that does testing, adjusting, and balancing. And they wanna do an assessment to make sure, what's going on with those units. Because some of these have already been replaced, remember, some of these were replaced with the ESSER funding. So we wanna make sure if we don't need to replace it, we don't replace it. We're thinking that, maybe some testing and balancing needs to be done. And this is for the heating and also for the rooms to be at comfortable levels. Some of the feedback that, Mrs. Torres got in the surveys was either the rooms are too hot or they're too cold. So we wanna make sure that, that is, those issues are corrected first.
So we did didn't we address last year the heating issues of the elementary?
No, so the heating issue on some of those, we're still having some issues with that, so we wanna make sure that we address it correctly, right? And I think that's why we wanna use Ethos Engineering to make sure that it's something that, it seems like it's been persistent, kinda like the high school gym. It seems like we've already addressed the condensation and humidity issues several times, so That's why this time around, we're kind of like saying, we're just gonna scrap everything and do it all over.
Cause I think it was the coils or something, it was
Yes,
just like a
so
patchwork kind of thing.
They need to, it's the controls that make everything the same temperature, because you can go into one wing and it's 65 degrees and the other wing is 82 or something.
Yeah, so the exhibit is just for them to do an assessment, right? Because I think right now we've been doing that, we think it's the coil, or we think it's this, as opposed to, they have what's called VAV boxes, and Mr. Martin's familiar with it, so it gathers data and it'll tell them exactly what it is. Is it the equipment, is it wiring, is it this?
So we know we don't need controls because we have brand new controls. We know that some of the units are brand new, but what is the problem is basically what they say are speaking to each other, and we know we need new coils for the heating because and I don't know, the amp is not big enough to be able to heat that up. And so it doesn't get cold very often, but when it does, the Sam Houston cafeteria is like 58.
Yeah, because they were saying that they were having to find codes
Yes.
Right.
for our
So
little
that's what
children.
we're working with.
And
three
with the new
elementary.
controls, I think one of the biggest part that's just as important is the testing and balancing. Otherwise, these controls, you always have to be moving them around. And I think that's one part that, we need to, that was not done, that we need to do.
Yeah,
The
to
next,
have only certain people operate those boxes.
right, and that's what the controls are. The controls are so that they're only operated, centrally from our maintenance department. I
Good
think
job.
the only ones that we cannot is the ones at Green, but because those are wall packs, so those are just, that's the nature of those units. We cannot install a control system. For the awnings and the covered walkways, also this one, last board meeting, we brought it to the board to approve a vendor. It was Coggins Construction. We also had a pre-construction meeting with them and with the engineering company that's overseeing it, which is FCS, Fulcrum. We did issue out a purchase order to them, same thing with them. We're finalizing the contract documents. Once we get those going, they're making sure they get us all the permits in place. They are gonna start with Green. They're hoping that they start that in the summer as soon as school is over. And the reason they're starting with Green is because that one is the one that's gonna have the longest amount of awnings, and it's gonna require a lot of drilling for the posts and the pillars. And so those, they'll have to break into the existing sidewalk, and so that takes a while, because if you think about it, where the current existing is, all the way to where the new bus stop or drop-off is, so it's pretty long. So they'll start there, and then they'll make their way to the high school, and then to all the other schools, Sam Houston and Dominguez. Sanchez is the only one that's not, doesn't require any awnings. And then with the exterior lighting, those, we've been doing those in-house. Mr. Marin, his staff has been working on those. I'm sure y'all seen some of those upgrades, specifically in our parking lots. They started with Sam Houston. I believe they already did Dominguez, and now they're working their way to Sanchez.
We
So-
did Sanchez.
Yeah, they're all.
Okay, so then we finished Sanchez. So those are just some of the upgrades. We'll continue to address some of those on the outside, and then make our way to the inside on where we might need to use.
Questions?
all I have for right now.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
And the last item is superintendent performance goal 4, activity 1, district facilities.
Thank you, Board President, Board members. So one of the areas that you wanted us to concentrate on is not just the bond projects, but make sure that overall our district facilities and grounds were taken care of. So we listed some things that we've done that did not include, it was local funding or other grant funding, but not bond funding. So we're about to, the fencing should be going up, the wrought iron fencing that we paid with the grant. They deliver the materials, and that should be starting this week. Tuesday,
Yes.
tomorrow. So you'll see that action going on. That's why we said there's a lot going on at high school. We had, this summer, one of the things in our pulse surveys is the teachers requested at Green additional restrooms. There's just not enough for all the staff. So that is going to be, happening this summer, with local funds. We expanded electrical and plumbing because we needed commercial washer and dryers. That's already done. We've already ordered the washer and dryer, and that should be coming in. New wash bay at transportation, that was completed. We installed an electric gate between the gym and Lion Stadium, so we only had one on one side, and the other one you had to open up, and that was done. Sprinkler system in front of high school. We're trying to work on grounds, and there's no way you can keep that green unless we do that, so we're looking at that. Painting of Sam Houston Elementary. If you look at the top of the gym and you look at Sam Houston, it's in need of painting, so we're hoping to get that done in summer and fall. Lion Stadium ticket booth was done by Mr. Marin and his staff, and we put air conditioning in there and installed new windows. We had an electric gate for buses at WB Green, sidewalks all the way out to Canal Street, and then all the way in front of Green, at WB Green. And then an exit sidewalk at high school. They used to walk either in the street or the dirt, and this past summer they built a sidewalk there. So those are some of the things we're doing for facilities. Questions?
No, thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Torres. There are 2 items on the consent agenda, the monthly tax report and the quarterly investment report. Do I have a motion to approve the items listed on the consent agenda?
I make a motion.
I have a motion by Mrs. Johnson, and do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to approve the items listed on the consent agenda. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Okey dokey, we will continue with the first item to consider and possible action. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve budget amendment number 2.
Thank you, Board President Castillo. I'm bringing forth budget amendment number 2. This is to go ahead and, we are moving some funding from maintenance to our function code 99. That's where we pay the county appraisal district. We pay them 4 quarterly payments. And so what we budgeted, we need to increase it by $15,000. The reason for that is the county appraisal district didn't adopt their budget until August, and we had already adopted our budget. And so they did have an increase in theirs of about 26% from what we had paid prior year. And so that's something that just we'll keep an eye on. And the second part to it, which is the third lines all the way down, that's the grant that we have with UTRGV. That's for the mental health assistance grant that we get through them, and they assist us with additional interns. And they help us fund one of our LSSPs. And so this is just adding the budget on there for this year. Since it's a 191 fund, we do have to, the board has to approve the additional budget amendments. Any questions on this one?
Question, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the budget amendment number 2 for the fiscal year 2025-2026 as presented.
Okay, and Mr. Somebody will second. It's been moved and seconded to approve budget amendment number 2 for the fiscal 2025-2026 school year as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the delivery method for HVAC chiller plant at LaFerre Early College High School's gymnasium.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So this one, what we're bringing on this agenda item, as I was mentioning in the bond project updates, we've been working with Ethos Engineering, so we are asking that the board approve the procurement method. Once, if the board approves this, we'll get back with Ethos Engineering, they'll begin the design phase. So what we're, after speaking with them, as I mentioned earlier, it seems to be that we're having always persistent issues with humidity and condensation. So the recommendation that they've done is to convert it from a HVAC system to a chiller plant system. This is, again, like I said, it is gonna have to go through the design phase. Once they complete those plans, then it'll go out for bid. It'll be through a competitive seal proposal, because it is gonna be a pretty costly project. And then, so we're hopeful that in the next 2 or 3 months, we'll bring something to the board in terms of a vendor to do this project.
Do I have a motion?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Zambrano already motioned.
Okay.
And do I have a second? You will second?
What is the
Yeah, you have
the
to.
type of,
Oh, you have to write the whole thing, sorry, thank you, sir. You have to read the whole
Which is
thing.
it?
Listen.
I move that we select competitive sealed proposal as delivery method for construction services for the HVAC chiller plant at LaFerre College High School as providing the best value for the district and delegate the authority to superintendent to process with a selected procurement.
Thank you, sir, and I believe Mrs. Montalvo? Oh, Mrs. Johnson was the second. So it's been moved and seconded to select competitive seal proposals as a delivery method for construction services for the HVAC chiller plant at the Fairleigh College High School as providing the best value for the district and delegate the authority to the superintendent to process with the selected procurement. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Discussion, consideration, and possible action to adopt a resolution withdrawing from the Texas Public Energy Alliance and authorize the superintendent to execute necessary steps to complete withdrawal.
Thank you, Board President. So this one, if y'all recall, at the last board meeting, we brought electricity contract. Our current electricity contract with TXU is gonna expire April 30th, and then the board did approve a one-year contract to go with the new vendor. The way we procure for our electricity is since 2015, the district has been part of the Texas Public Energy Alliance, TPEA, and so they procure for us. What has made it a little bit tough is now that this contract was expiring is, the way the agreement or the co-op was written, only the alliance, only this co-op can procure for us. So here what we're asking is for the board to adopt the resolution so that we're no longer a member of them. This would be effective May 31st, 2027. So once the new electricity contract is over, so then that would allow us to go ahead and solicit whether we would do it ourselves, like any other bid, or if we were to join any other co-op, right? And so there's a lot of different co-ops out there, whether it's with TASB, Board, any of them that might offer energy services, we would be able to procure through them. And so we have to bring this one, because the way, another part of the way the agreement was written, or the bylaws, is that we would have to give them a 9-month advance. Otherwise, it would renovate for a whole another year, which is why we're bringing it so early, just to make sure we don't miss the deadline for that.
Do I have a motion?
So if they
Yes.
have, like, come next year, or let's say we're out and if they have the better rate, can we get back in with that?
Yeah, then there would be, we would go with them, right? Yep. And just like anything, right, they're also more than welcome to, we would reach out to them as well if we wanted to.
I move that we adopt a resolution withdrawing from the Texas Public Energy Alliance and authorize the superintendent to take all necessary steps required to complete the withdrawal and secure alternate electricity procurement arrangements for the district.
I have a motion by Mrs. Johnson, and do I have a second? Second by Mrs. Montalvo. It's been moved and seconded to adopt a resolution withdrawing from the Texas Public Energy Alliance and authorize the superintendent to take all necessary steps required to complete the withdrawal and secure alternate electricity procurement arrangements for the district. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. And the last item, discussion, consideration, and possible action to approve the change order number 001 for Scoggins Construction Company, INC, for baseball and softball complex bond project.
Yes, so we're bringing change order number 1 with the baseball and softball complex. The change order, the total amount is for $4,400. After they were looking at the specs that were done for the scoreboard, and talking to Coach Foster, they recommended that we would add, for the baseball one, that they would add a pitch count. And for the softball scoreboard, that they would add a 99-minute clock. And I believe my understanding is it's not a requirement yet, but they do foresee UIL adding those restrictions for our athletes in terms of pitch count for the boys, and a minute clock for the softball for the girls. So we wanted to see add those now instead of coming in later, and it might be more costly to add it to the scoreboard, or that we wouldn't be able to add it to the scoreboard. Total cost for it again is an additional $4,400, so it's $2,200 for each scoreboard.
Any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the change order number 001 for Scoggins Construction Company Incorporation for the baseball and softball complex bond project.
Very good. And do I have a second?
A second.
I have a second by Mrs. Johnson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the change order number 001 for Scoggins Construction Company, INC, for the baseball and softball complex bond project. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. It is now 6:40 PM, and we're moving into closed meeting pursuant to Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Thank you. It is now 7:19 PM, and we are now reconvened to open session. Let the record show that the superintendent approved the resignations as presented by administration in closed session. Bobby Cortez, Ruby Tijerina, Paul King, Adrian Galvan, and Jessica Vasquez. Any other motions?
Yes, Madam President. I move that we offer a one-year contract to teachers, counselors, and professional staff as discussed in closed session for the 2026-2027 school year.
I have a motion by Mrs. Johnson, and do I have a second? Have a second by Mrs. Montalvo. All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. District announcements?
Yes. So on the 29th, we have a student job fair. On May the 1st, we have College Decision Day. May 4th, the ACE banquet. On the 5th of May, we have Little Feria Early College High School cohort dinner. On the 7th of May, we have senior honor breakfast. The 11th of May, we have the May board meeting. On the 12th, we have the top 10 banquet. On the 13th, we have the bilingual senior recognition. On the 14th, we have the volunteer luncheon, and then following in the evening is the migrant senior dinner.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos. If there is no other business, I'll motion to adjourn. A motion by Mr. Zambrano, do I have a second? A second by Mrs. Johnson. All those in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. It is now 7:21 PM, and the meeting is adjourned.